Hello to all you movie barfs and welcome back to the channel. WandaVision was released in early 2021 as the MCU's first departure from the big screen to the TV streaming service. There was a lot riding on it, as this was Marvel's chance to make that powerful first impression for their streaming projects. If it went well, it would generate interest for the rest of their upcoming future projects as well. Fortunately for Marvel, it looks like their efforts paid off, because as of February of 2021, WandaVision was reported to be the most popular TV show at the time. But now that the series is over, we can take a step back for a collective look and see the series as a whole. While there were many good elements of the show, and it's definitely worth watching if you're an MCU fan, there were some issues with the series which left much to be desired. Now, not everyone complains about these issues, but some of these might bother some more than the rest. In this video, we'll take a look at some of the things in WandaVision that didn't work so well for the audience. We can't discuss the plot points without going into full spoiler mode here, so if you haven't seen WandaVision in its entirety, come back after you have. Number 1. The fake reality cliché. Now, given that this series occurs after Avengers Endgame, which means that Vision's already been killed by Thanos, from the start we know that this can't possibly be real. It has to be a false reality created by Wanda's powers or something. And that's one of the things that didn't really excite me for the series. That it's all a fake world or some alternative reality that would eventually have to collapse when the main character decides that you can't live a life forever. I mean, the character arc pretty much goes like this. Character lives in a fake dream world where everything they wish for exists. Character then slowly realizes that something's off about the dream world. Character eventually arrives at the conclusion that it's better to accept the real world and let go of the dream world. Look, we've seen this idea countless times in different stories before, and it does get old, especially in comic book media. In Batman the Animated Series, Bruce Wayne is stuck in a dream where his parents are alive and he's attached to Selina Kyle. Best of all, he's not Batman. Someone else has taken up that burden for him. But eventually, he realizes that he's in a dream since he can't read the books in the library, and realizes that it's all a ploy by the Mad Hatter, and he breaks free. This is a pretty good episode to check out, by the way, if you haven't seen it already. Same goes for the Justice League episode Legends, in which some of the members of the Justice League get transported into a comic book world governed by the Justice League of America. Eventually, the heroes realize that the entire world and the JLA themselves are fictional constructs of a fanboy who got powers after a nuclear incident. They then fight to break free from this world of false reality. At the end, there's an ice cream truck driver who sheds tears of joy after having been forced to drive it on an endless loop for 40 years in the constructed reality. Ooh, one last example. In the Justice League Unlimited episode, For the Man Who Has Everything, we see Superman back on an undestroyed Krypton, living with his parents, married to his love interest, and even has a son. And just like the previous two examples, he realizes it's all fake and he has to break free from it. While the plot is cliché, I will admit that it does make for some emotional heart-tugging moments. As in the Superman example above, we saw him have to part ways with his son, whom he'd become very attached to. Similarly, the ending of WandaVision gives us a heartfelt moment where Wanda says goodbye to Vision for the time being, and it does allow for hands down the best line in the whole series. What is grief, if not love persevering? This false reality gives us a glimpse of what suburban life could have been like for the two of them, and it gives us a lot more backstory between the two characters not shown in the movies. But still, at the back of our minds, we know that we shouldn't get too invested into this false world since it's temporary. When we see Vision appear, we know it can't possibly be the real Vision, especially when he says he has no memory of the events before Westview and doesn't know what the Avengers are. When we see the twins, we know they can't possibly be real, especially after seeing their magical growth abilities. The whole time, we as an audience are waiting for some outside intervention to break through into the hex so that we can get past this fake world. Number 2. The moral ethics of Wanda's choices. Now, let's call a spade a spade. As stated in the series itself, effectively, what Wanda did was to take an entire town hostage to act out her fantasy world. She got her dream reality, but at their expense. They paid the price for her artificial happiness. And it wasn't that she was unaware. Oh no, she completely knew what she was doing. With all the rewinds and edits that she did, from the sword agent turned beekeeper and expelling Monica from Westview. Just like the ice cream truck driver in the Justice League episode, she mentally enslaved the residents of the town to sustain the act. Like in the Halloween episode, where we see a woman on an endless loop of tearfully hanging laundry. In the series finale, they're practically begging to be released, and one of them would rather die than to carry on being enslaved like this. As it turns out, they've been sharing her grief and her nightmares too. So clearly, Wanda is the villain here. She really did the town dirty and messed them up. I mean, we as the audience understand that she was doing it out of grief, but come on! Those people had their own lives too. Wanda had no right to hijack their lives and put them on hold. Some of them may have critical issues to attend to, like a sick relative they may not ever see again due to Wanda's hold. At the end, after she releases the town, it's only natural that they give her evil stares as she walks out, treating her just like an outcast witch. But lucky for her, she gets off scot-free with absolutely no repercussions. So ultimately, Wanda is the villain here, just that since the story is told from her perspective, we can empathize with her even when we see the full impact of her decision in the last episode. Essentially, the show is a journey showing the audience Wanda's grieving process, from the stage of denial and sustaining this false reality, all the way to the acceptance stage where she makes the decision to come back to the real world. It'll be interesting to see how and what Wanda does when she returns to the MCU, as I'm sure the producers have a much bigger role for her to play on a larger scale. Number 3. The Quicksilver Bait and Switch. I'm sure we were all shocked when we saw Evan Peters, the actor who plays Quicksilver in the Fox X-Men universe, showed up suddenly at Wanda's doorstep. Due to the studio rights, the character has been played by Aaron Taylor Johnson in the MCU, with some differences to the character, of course. In the Fox X-Men universe, Quicksilver was the son of Magneto, while in the MCU, he was the son of an ordinary Sokovian couple. So when Evan Peters shows up at the doorstep, fan theories and speculations went through the roof. Would this be a crossover? Ooh, or is this the beginning of a multiverse? Would this be the producer's way of introducing the X-Men into the MCU? Those were some of the more wild ones. More realistic ones were along the lines of, is he Mephisto or Nightmare in disguise? Given the current trajectory of the plot, that sounded reasonable, due to all the underworld references we heard in the Halloween episode. I mean, the guy even has his hair styled up like devil horns and told Wanda's kids to unleash hell. Or at the least, could he be Agatha Harkness's son in disguise? Well, as we found out in the series finale, the answer to all those possibilities is a big fat no! It turns out that this Quicksilver was no one of significance. He was just an ordinary resident living in Westview who bears an uncanny resemblance to the Quicksilver from the X-Men universe. I don't even remember his last name. All I remember is that his last name sounds like Boner. Many fans would agree that this bait and switch was a disappointing move by the showrunners. You can't just put another character from another universe and not assume we'd get our hopes up. They would have certainly predicted this kind of fan theory and speculation, and to deny the audience this satisfaction was a mistake on their part. It's somewhat as disappointing as the Mandarin reveal in Iron Man 3, where another character of importance is revealed to just be a sham to misdirect the audience. I'd say the ones who are most disappointed were those who were expecting the beginnings of the multiverse to happen in WandaVision. We did get a hint of that in Spider-Man Far From Home, but that also turned out to be false. So maybe this time we thought we could get a solid lead on the concept, especially since the upcoming Doctor Strange movie would be dealing with the multiverse, and Scarlet Witch was rumored to play a part in that movie. Well, maybe next time, Marvel fans. Number 4, the so-called Luke Skywalker level cameo. This one's on us actually, and not the fault of the show's producers. Long story short, after an interview with Elizabeth Olsen, it was misinterpreted that there would be a cameo in WandaVision that would match the magnitude of Luke Skywalker's appearance in The Mandalorian Season 2. So after the series finale, when no such impactful cameo happened, fans were upset and felt cheated. Our hopes got too high up. Some of us were even expecting Professor X or Magneto to show up. After all, a Luke Skywalker level cameo is hard to live up to. But if we look back at the actual interview that was done with TV Align, yes, they were talking about the Luke Skywalker cameo. But the specific question asked to Olsen was if WandaVision had a casting that she can't believe hasn't leaked yet. After Luke's cameo in The Mandalorian Season 2, the showrunners and Mark Hamill himself were pleased to report that they managed to keep this role under wraps, and that it wasn't leaked out to audiences before it released. The specific interview question between Olsen and TV Line was on this topic of leaked castings, not on the significance of the cameo involved. They did talk about the impact of Luke's cameo earlier, which is probably why other news reporters misread and inaccurately lumped the two together, when in reality, all Elizabeth Olsen was saying was that there was a casting that hasn't been leaked and that she was excited for the audience to see what was in store. She didn't say that there would be a Luke Skywalker level cameo in the series. That was just a case of broken telephone, caused by a misinterpretation by the media. Sorry, Marvel fans. While this news was definitely something we'd hoped to be true, it turns out we were the victim of our own misinterpretation. But in hindsight, we'd have to conclude that the casting Elizabeth Olsen was referring to was Evan Peters as the fake Pietro. That was hands down the most unexpected casting choice and the most jaw-dropping moment in the series. If only it had materialized into something with larger consequences, like the X-Men or the multiverse. Number 5. Bringing Vision back to life. Okay, honestly, I don't really have a problem with this, but some Marvel fans might. Essentially, no death is permanent in the MCU. Dead characters come back to life all the time, and this cheapens the impact of any future death scene in MCU movies. Especially in Avengers Endgame, where we see they pretty much have the cure for any character's death. Just go to another timeline and bring that character into yours. We see this with Loki and Gamora, who were both killed, but now are alive and well to continue appearing in future MCU projects. From a financial standpoint, of course, this makes sense. Why kill the golden goose when they have so much more to give? These characters are cash cows, not only in terms of attracting the audience to sit in front of a screen, but also in terms of merchandising. I mean, have you seen how much one of those Hot Toys costs? So yeah, looks like Vision is back too. From the moment they revealed the new White Vision in the mid-credit scene, I guessed that Vision from Westview would somehow merge with the physical body of the new White Vision. Basically, the soul of Vision entering an empty shell, somewhat like Professor X's consciousness entering the empty body of his twin so that they could bring the character back. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't really have a problem with this death reversal for one key reason. Vision is an android, not a human. In Avengers Infinity War, Bruce mentioned that Vision is more than just the Mind Stone and could probably exist even when it's removed. Now that Sword has reassembled Vision back and found a way to power him without the Mind Stone, it makes sense that he's back online. All he needs is the missing piece of unlocking his memories, something Wanda's Vision could do. This reminds me of Data's transference in Star Trek Nemesis, where essentially he's resurrected by uploading his memory into the body of another android. While it can be annoying that many MCU characters can cheat death, I think we can make an exception here, given Vision's nature as a robot. Now, we pretty much have Vision continuing right off the moment Thanos killed him, almost as if he was blipped back too. Number 6. Those damn please stand by credits. If there was ever any debate on whether studios should release a new series in its entirety or week by week, it is definitely settled by WandaVision. I mean, the show would definitely not have become the most watched show in early 2021 if it was released all at once. When it was released week by week, it allowed for greater fan speculation, and for hype to build up and snowball. That way, more people will be talking about it for a longer period of time. Basically, it'll be trending for much longer than if all the episodes were released together, like in the case of Cobra Kai. But one of the things audience hated with WandaVision was just how short some of the episodes were. We'd see 35 minutes on the timeline, and while 25 minutes in, we think we have a decent amount of watch time left. Then we realize the joke's on us, as the "Please stand by" screen suddenly appears, signaling the start of 10 whopping minutes of credits! And to my embarrassment, they got me several times. Probably due to the fact that I wished each episode would be longer. But I was fooled by the episode runtime more than I wish to admit. And it's not just me. Given the general audience reaction, it seems that many of you folks also didn't appreciate the 10 minutes of credits each episode. Before the Agatha reveal, it was even joked that the real villain of the series was that damn "Please stand by" screen appearing when we least expected. Well, these are some of the things that may or may not have bothered you in the WandaVision series. While there are flaws, as with every show, overall, I had a blast watching this series, and it had me hooked week to week. This really was Wanda and Vision's show, given the appropriately titled series name. The best parts were about their relationship, with some of the best acting performances by Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany. I can't wait to see where the producers will take the characters next in terms of the overall big picture for the next MCU phase. So what did you think of the WandaVision series as a whole? Was it a hit or a miss? Or were you disappointed Professor X didn't show up? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to check out some of our videos too. Bye!